September of 2019, two siblings, 16-year-old Tylee Ashlyn Ryan and 7-year-old Joshua Jackson Vallow, mysteriously disappeared from their home in Rexburg, Idaho. Surprisingly, their absence went unnoticed until late November 2019 when they were finally reported missing. Months later, a painstaking investigation led detectives to a grim discovery. The lifeless bodies of these innocent children were found buried in a pet cemetery. This shocking revelation was just the tip of the iceberg in a case filled with horrifying secrets. Unknowing to the detectives at the time, this case would later unravel into one of the most chilling mysteries, revealing a disturbing pattern of murders and bizarre cult beliefs intertwined with the fate of Tylee and Joshua. Now, what truly happened in the lives of Tylee and Joshua, and who committed such gruesome acts against the two innocent children? Welcome back to Bizarre Cases. I'm Jerry, and today we'll be delving into the perplexing and chilling saga surrounding Tylee and Joshua's disappearances and mysterious deaths. But before we jump into this enigmatic tale, if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. Now, let's get started. Rexburg, nestled in Madison County, Idaho, within an hour's drive of two major national parks, Yellowstone and Teton, is not only a thriving college town, but also a haven for nature enthusiasts. The city offers its residents the opportunity to immerse themselves in the beauty and tranquility of nature, complete with abundant wildlife. Despite its closeness to these natural wonders, Rexburg is known for its low crime rate. In fact, the chances of falling victim to a violent crime in Rexburg are just 1 in 2,942, making it safer than 82% of all neighborhoods in the United States. However, in 2019, the city was shaken to its core by one of the most horrendous crimes in its history, leaving its residents in profound shock. Lori Ryan Daybell, also known as Lori Vallow Daybell, was born on June 26, 1973, in Loma Linda, California, to parents Barry Lynn Cox and Janice Lee Cox. While not much is known about Lori's childhood, she enjoyed a fairly ordinary upbringing alongside her older brother Alexander and sister Summer. In 1992, at the age of 19, Lori tied the knot with her high school sweetheart, Nelson Yanes. Unfortunately, their marriage was a suffocating one for both, and it didn't stand for long, ultimately ending in divorce just a few months later. By the time Lori turned 22, she entered into her second marriage, this time with a man named William Ligioia in October 1995. The couple welcomed a son named Colby in 1996, but regrettably, their union also came to an end in the same year, after just 1 year of marriage. In 2001, Lori married Joseph Anthony Ryan Jr., who legally adopted Colby, Lori's son from her previous marriage. One of the motivations for Lori's multiple marriages was her desire to have another child. She soon became pregnant with Tylee and was immensely thrilled about it. During this time, Lori, Joseph, and Colby were living in Maricopa County, Arizona, specifically in Phoenix, where Tylee spent her early childhood. However, just 4 years into their marriage, Lori and Joseph divorced in 2005. Shortly after parting ways with Joseph, Lori embarked on her fourth marriage to Charles Vallow in 2006. Lori, along with Colby and Tylee, moved into Charles's home in Chandler, Arizona, where they joined Charles and his two sons, Zach and Cole, from his previous marriage. In 2013, this blended family of 6 welcomed a new addition into their lives. Charles and Lori adopted Joshua Jackson Vallow, the biological grandson of Charles's sister, Kay Woodcock. Joshua, affectionately known as JJ, was the youngest member of the family and received much attention and care. He was born as Cannon Todd Tran to parents Mandy Ledger and Todd Tran on May 5, 2012, in Lake Charles, Louisiana. However, Mandy and Todd soon discovered that JJ had autism. Being a young and struggling couple, they found it challenging to meet JJ's special needs. It was at this point that they decided to entrust JJ's care to Charles and Lori. In 2014, Lori and Charles, along with the children, relocated to Kauai, Hawaii, where they lived for approximately 3 years before returning to Arizona in 2017. By 2018, Tylee, now 15 years old, had matured into a typical teenage girl, leading a normal life much like her peers. Tylee cherished driving her Jeep and spending time with her friends, relishing the last few years of her youth. She held tightly to her unique sense of humor, but her jovial spirit was tragically extinguished when her biological father, Joseph, Lori's third husband at 59 years old, passed away due to a heart attack in April 2018. In 2019, just as Tylee was beginning to recover and put her father's death behind her, another devastating blow struck. On July 11, 2019, 62-year-old Charles Vallow was fatally shot in Chandler, Arizona, by Lori's brother, Alex Cox. Alex claimed self-defense and declared that he used his firearm only after Charles struck him with a baseball bat. At the time of the incident, Tylee was at home and gave an account of events that aligned with her uncle's description. Following Charles's tragic death, Tylee became the primary source of comfort and companionship for JJ, to whom she was especially close to. She wholeheartedly embraced the role of caregiver, attending to JJ's needs and looking after him to the best of her abilities. JJ and Tylee shared an unbreakable bond, meaning the world to each other. As they moved forward with their lives, Lori relocated with JJ and Tylee to Rexburg, Idaho, while Colby pursued a separate path. Tylee initially resisted the move, reluctant to leave her friends behind, but later accepted it, understanding that her top priority was caring for JJ. However, Lori's decision to move was driven by her deepening affection for a man named Chad Daybell, who lived in Rexburg. Lori and Chad gradually spent more and more time together, leading to their marriage on November 5, 2019, in a beachside ceremony in Hawaii. In October 2019, Tylee made 2 monetary transfers from her account to her older half-brother, Colby Ryan. Along with the payments, she included heartfelt messages expressing her love and telling him how much she missed him. Colby found this somewhat unusual and concerning because he had been trying to reach out to Tylee, but she'd always claimed to be busy. After these messages, Colby tried to contact Tylee again, but he only received messages from her cell phone informing him that she was all right, but too busy to talk. Despite several more unsuccessful attempts to get in touch with Tylee, Colby convinced himself that Tylee was simply busy with her schoolwork and would reach out when she found the time. But things took a worrisome turn on November 26, 2019, when JJ's grandparents, Kay and Larry Woodcock, got very concerned. They told the police that they hadn't been able to talk to their grandchild for a long time, and they were getting more and more anxious about him. They asked the police to check on JJ's well-being, so Detective Ray Hermosillo went to Lori's house in Rexburg that very day. Lori said JJ was with her friend Melanie in Arizona, but when the detectives talked to Melanie, she told them that JJ hadn't been with her for a long time. On that night, a neighbor saw Lori and her older brother Alex leaving their home with bags in a truck. The next day, when detectives came back to ask Lori more questions, they found that the house was empty and Lori was gone. Later, Melanie called the police again and said that Lori and Chad had wanted her to tell a lie about where JJ was, but she didn't go along with it. The detectives' intensified efforts to locate JJ led to the alarming discovery that Tylee was also missing. An immediate investigation was launched to locate the missing children, with JJ's grandparents and numerous volunteers joining law enforcement's efforts to find Tylee and JJ. Kay and Larry Woodcock went a step further, offering a reward in the hopes of encouraging someone with information about the children's whereabouts to come forward. They held a press conference, announcing a $20,000 reward for any information leading to the recovery of JJ and Tylee. Unfortunately, the reward remained unclaimed. Meanwhile, detectives were growing increasingly suspicious of Lori and Chad's sudden departure from the city. They wondered whether the couple was connected to the children's disappearance or if they themselves were in some kind of trouble. This led Detective Ray Hermosillo to delve deeper into Lori and Chad's lives during his investigation, unearthing some intriguing information. Chad Guy Daybell was born on August 11, 1968, in Provo, Utah, and married Tamara Douglas, commonly known as Tammy, on March 9, 1990, when he was 21 years old, in Manti, Utah. Despite graduating from Brigham Young University in 1992 with a BA in journalism, he worked various jobs, including working as a grave digger. In 2004, Chad started his own company called Spring Creek Book Company. He used it to publish his own made-up stories and religious books. Chad was really into talking and writing about his mix of religious and doomsday ideas in his books and on the internet. These publications and broadcasts garnered a substantial following for Chad, composed of individuals who, much like him, harbored equally ominous beliefs. In 2015, Chad said he got a message from God telling him to move to Rexburg, Idaho. So he moved there with his wife Tammy and their 5 kids in June. Meanwhile, in 2015, Lori, Tylee, JJ, and Charles were living in Hawaii. That's when Lori discovered Chad Daybell and got really into his books and End of the World podcasts. Her friends and Charles noticed that Lori changed during this time. She got really interested in Chad's ideas, and her relationship with her children began to deteriorate. She stopped paying attention to them and started treating them as if they were a burden. After dipping herself in Chad's questionable works for over 3 years, Lori and Chad finally met in person for the first time at a religious conference in Utah in October 2018. After that, they met again when Chad came around for a business meeting. Chad and Lori started talking to each other in secret. Chad told Lori that they had been married in 7 past lives. Chad classified individuals as either light or dark based on their affiliation with Jesus Christ or Satan. He referred to Lori as an eternal being, a belief system that profoundly fascinated her, leading her to form a strong attachment to Chad and his teachings. Over the next several months, Lori continued to meet with Chad, and on December 5th, 2018, they made a joint appearance on a podcast episode where they discussed their shared obsession with apocalyptic beliefs to attract more followers. At this point, the rift between Lori and Charles escalated as Lori's fascination with Chad and his books grew more intense. Things deteriorated fast, reaching a breaking point when Lori confessed to Charles that she no longer had any concern for him or JJ. In February 2019, Charles took decisive action by filing for divorce, citing Lori as a threat to his life and the well-being of their children. He also accused her of taking his truck and withdrawing $35,000 from their shared bank accounts, alleging that Lori had even issued threats to his life. Following the advice of his legal counsel, Charles obtained a restraining order against Lori. He pleaded with the authorities to order mental health counseling for Lori, but she was ultimately deemed mentally competent. Just a few months later, in July 2019, tragedy struck when Alex claimed to have shot Charles in self-defense, and no charges were filed. In September 2019, a mere month after Charles's death, Lori relocated to Rexburg, Idaho, along with Tylee and JJ, where Chad and his wife, Tammy, lived. Detectives uncovered photographs showing that Lori, Alex, KJ, and Tylee had visited Yellowstone National Park on September 8, 2019. This marked the last known sighting of Tylee before she went missing. An examination of the family's cell phone records from that period revealed that Alex had spent approximately 2 hours at Chad's property on the morning of September 9, 2019. Officials at Kennedy Elementary School in Rexburg, Idaho, confirmed to the detectives that JJ had indeed attended classes on September 22, 2019. On that evening, Melanie, a friend of Lori's, was staying over at Lori's residence along with JJ. Melanie later verified that she had witnessed Alex carrying JJ into the apartment that night. However, to her surprise, she couldn't find JJ the following day and questioned Lori about his whereabouts. Lori's response was unsettling. She claimed that JJ was undergoing a transformation into a zombie and needed to be taken away. A doorbell camera captured footage of JJ playing with a friend on the morning of September 23, 2019. This clip served as the final known recording of them together. Upon examining the cell phone records of Lori and Alex, the police discovered that Alex had once again visited Chad's residence for a few hours on September 23, 2019. Additionally, on September 24, 2019, Lori made a call to JJ's school, notifying them of her intention to withdraw him from school and begin homeschooling. On the night of October 9, 2019, an unidentified individual attempted to shoot Tammy, Chad's wife, with a paintball gun while she was in her driveway. She quickly called 911 to report the incident, but the perpetrator got away with it. A mere 10 days later, On October 19, 2019, the 49-year-old Tammy was discovered dead under mysterious circumstances in her own home. Chad claimed that Tammy had retired to bed early the previous night due to feeling unwell. Her body was never subjected to an autopsy, as Chad vehemently opposed it. Faced with this series of unsettling events, the detectives recognized the need to re-examine the deaths of all individuals connected to Chad and Lori to determine if foul play was involved. Law enforcement agencies intensified their efforts to investigate the disappearances of the children, the deaths of Tammy, Charles, and Joseph, and Chad and Lori's escape from Rexburg. In December 2019, Tammy's body was exhumed to facilitate a thorough autopsy, as the circumstances surrounding her death raised suspicion. The autopsy results revealed that Tammy had been asphyxiated by someone other than herself, indicating that she had been forcibly restrained and suffocated. However, in the case of Joseph Ryan, Lori's third husband and Tylee's biological father, his death did not appear suspicious. A re-examined investigation ultimately concluded that Joseph had passed away due to natural causes. While delving into the circumstances surrounding the death of Lori's fourth husband, Charles, detectives uncovered police interviews that showed Lori smiling as she narrated the altercation between her brother, Alex, and Charles. Detectives also learned that Alex had refrained from performing CPR and waited for 43 minutes after shooting Charles before contacting the authorities. Another investigation revealed that in 2007, Alex had assaulted Joseph, claiming he had been abusive to Lori and the children. For this incident, Alex had served a jail sentence. Amidst these investigations, as detectives sought to locate and question Alex regarding Charles' death, an unexpected turn of events occurred. Alex, aged 51, passed away on December 12, 2019, just 2 weeks after getting married. Although Alex initially seemed to have died from blood clots and high blood pressure, the discovery of the drug Narcan in his system made people wonder. But in the end, the medical examiner decided Alex's death was from natural causes. 2 months after the kids were reported missing, detectives found Lori and Chad in Hawaii on January 25, 2020. Lori received a court order telling her to show up in an Idaho court with her children by January 30, 2020. When that day came, Lori didn't bring her kids or tell the authorities where they were. This broke the court order, and on February 20, 2020, detectives in Hawaii arrested Lori for child negligence. During the investigation, Lori gave police mixed up and untrue information about where the kids were. She was additionally charged with resisting officers' criminal solicitation to commit a crime in contempt of court. Her bail was initially set at $5 million, but was later lowered to $1 million after being extradited to Idaho. Lori tried asking local bond companies for help, but none wanted to work with her. After Lori's arrest, a lot of reporters talked to Chad and asked about the kids' safety. Chad didn't answer any questions, which was strange because the kids had been missing for a long time. This made detectives worried that Lori and Chad might have done something really bad. While the investigation kept going and the kids were still missing, detectives searched Chad's property in Rexburg again on June 9, 2020. They hoped to find some clues that could help them find JJ and Tylee. But what they found on Chad's land left them in shock. While investigating the pet cemetery situated at the rear of Chad's property, a detective stumbled upon human remains buried in shallow graves. JJ's lifeless body was found encased in a black plastic bag near a tree, with his mouth and ankles tightly bound using duct tape. Over his remains, a piece of wooden paneling and 3 large, flat rocks were laid in a row. His arms, chin to forehead, and feet were also secured with several layers of duct tape. Tylee's remains were located a short distance away within the pet cemetery. Investigators spent hours meticulously clearing the earth around her remains before confirming their suspicions. The discovery was confirmed when a piece of bone was found. Her body had been dismembered and appeared to have been burned in a fire pit. Following these grim findings, Chad was arrested and ordered to be held on a $1 million bond. On June 10, 2020, both the Woodcock and Ryan families confirmed that the human remains discovered on Chad's property belonged to JJ and Tylee. The Rexburg Police Department officially corroborated this on June 13, 2020. Tylee and JJ's bodies underwent autopsy by Dr. Garth Warren, yielding disheartening results. Dr. Garth determined that their cause of death was asphyxia due to a plastic bag over the head and duct tape covering the mouth. There was evidence to suggest that JJ may have still been alive when he was buried, as no signs of internal organ trauma or apparent natural disease were found. Dr. Warren also received Tylee's charred remains in 3 separate bags, noting severe decomposition and shrinkage of her organs. He concluded that the 16-year-old girl had died as a result of homicide, though the specific means couldn't be pinpointed. Later, authorities discovered a storage locker in Rexburg, rented by Lori in October 2019. Surveillance footage captured Lori and her brother Alex moving stuff belonging to JJ and Tylee to and from the locker. Inside the locker, police found various items like clothing, bicycles, and photographs that belonged to Tylee and JJ. Lori and Chad were first charged with tampering with evidence. However, it wasn't until May 25, 2021, that they were formally indicted for the deaths of Tylee, JJ, and Tammy, Chad's first wife, in Idaho. They each faced charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and grand theft in connection with the deaths of Tylee and JJ, as well as conspiracy to commit first-degree murder in Tammy's case. On October 11, 2022, after a year of receiving mental health counseling, Lori was finally declared fit to stand trial. She appeared in court October 19, 2022, after a long absence for her arraignment on charges related to the murders of Tylee, JJ, and Tammy. She refused to enter a plea, leading the judge to enter a not guilty plea on her behalf. On March 2, 2023, an Idaho judge decided that separate trials would be held for Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell regarding the murders of JJ, Tylee, and Tammy. The trial date for Chad was pending, while Lori's trial was scheduled to commence on April 3, 2023. Idaho prosecutors had expressed their intent to pursue the death penalty against Lori and Chad for the murders of JJ, Tylee, and Tammy. Prosecutors alleged that Lori and Chad, along with Lori's brother Alex, conspired to kill Tammy, JJ, and Tylee, partly due to their doomsday cult beliefs and financial motives. They collected Tammy's life insurance money, as well as the children's Social Security and survivor benefits. Lori's defense team argued against the death penalty, citing the recent disclosure of significant evidence that they needed more time to review. On March 21, 2023, the judge ruled that Lori Vallow would not face the death penalty for the alleged killings of her children and her involvement in Tammy Daybell's murder conspiracy. However, the possibility of Chad facing the death penalty remained. As scheduled, Lori Vallow's trial for the alleged killings of her children and conspiracy to kill Tammy Daybell began in Idaho on April 3, 2023. On April 13th, during the trial, Lori's former friend Melanie Gibb testified that Lori had confided in her, revealing her belief that both of her children were influenced by dark spirits. Melanie went on to testify that in early September 2019, when she visited Lori in Rexburg, she found that under the influence of Chad, Lori had become convinced that her children had made pacts with Satan, causing their spirits to turn dark. Another friend of Lori testified that Lori had once told her that Tylee and JJ had turned into zombies, and that she believed it was her mission to rid the world of these zombies. This conversation took place months before the discovery of the children's remains. On April 25th, Lori's sister, Summer Shiflett, took the stand and testified against her. She claimed an active role in the lives of her niece and nephew, JJ and Tylee. Additionally, when she learned of the children's disappearance, she was unable to contact Lori for months. A dramatic phone call between Summer and Lori was played for the jury. This call occurred shortly after the bodies of JJ and Tylee were found buried in Chad's backyard in Idaho, while Lori was in jail. A phone call between Lori and her oldest son, Colby, was also examined. Colby stated that his mother, Lori, had always been protective and caring towards her children, but that everything changed after she met Chad Daybell. During one session of her trial, Lori spoke for the first time, claiming that Tylee and JJ had visited her from heaven. She later described Tammy as her friend and shared an encounter she had with her. On May 12, 2023, After 6 weeks of dramatic testimony, the jury reached a verdict after 7 hours of deliberation. Lori Vallow was found guilty in Ada County Court in Boise, Idaho, of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and grand theft in relation to the deaths of her children, Tylee and GJ. She was also found guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder in the case of Chad Daybell's first wife, Tammy. On Monday, July 31, 2023, Lori received a life sentence in prison with no possibility of parole for her involvement in the murders of 16-year-old Tylee Ryan and 7-year-old JJ. Chad Daybell still faces first-degree murder and conspiracy charges in Idaho, related to the deaths of Tammy Daybell and Lori's children. However, he has chosen to waive his right to a speedy trial and is now scheduled to be tried on April 1, 2024. The case of Tylee and JJ gained nationwide attention due to the chilling details of the children's deaths and the involvement of their own mother. This case underscores the importance of thorough investigations and accountability when it comes to missing children. A close friend of Tylee revealed that Tylee initially didn't want to move to Idaho, but did so because she wanted the best for her little brother, JJ. She was determined to protect him. Tylee's best friend also mentioned receiving short and unusual text messages from Tylee in October 2019, realizing now that those messages were not from Tylee at all. Tylee's half-brother, Colby, and JJ's grandparents were deeply saddened by their loss. While nothing could bring their loved ones back, they found some solace in the fact that Lori was rightfully held accountable. Even though Lori and Chad were charged with the murders, the full truth behind what happened to Tylee and JJ went with them. So guys, do you think that Lori was influenced by Chad, or was this something she'd always been harboring in her mind? Let us know what you think in the comments section below, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more.